War, poverty, disease, violence seems to be a reoccurring theme in today's world, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. It actually looks like it's escalating. If you ask some people why this is happening like this, then they will tell you it's just the way it is. But other people will say that there are insidious people behind these acts and that all of this is actually by design. So, who is behind this?
So just what is it? Who or what is making all these bad things in the world happen?
Earlier this year, I embarked on a journey. I wanted to find the answer to this very question. Is everything that we see happening in today's world actually just a coincidence, or is it by design?
So what made me ask this question? I'm going to start from the beginning on this one. Well, it started when I met a gentleman that I know quite well. I'm going to call him Mohammed because this gentleman told me a story which I will always remember. He told me about how he managed to escape the genocide that was happening in the Balkan regions back in the 1990s.
The Srebrenica genocide stands as one of the worst episodes of ethnic cleansing in Europe after the Second World War. Over 5 days, 8,000 unarmed Bosnian Muslim men and boys were massacred by the Bosnian Serb military forces. This was the beginning of what would become 4 years of killing, persecution, and rape. When the massacres began in other cities on the border with Serbia, it was clear that the aim was to ethnically cleanse the region from the Muslim population. Women and girls as young as 7 were continuously raped, some for over 8 months.
In the days that followed, his forces brutally slaughtered more than 7,000 Muslim men and boys from the town.
For Mohammed, it was clear. He could no longer go back home to the Balkans because that would be suicide. The way he did it was brilliant. He left in a car that was filled with people of all different nationalities. You got to remember, Yugoslavia used to be one country, but then it broke up into a multitude of countries like Croatia and Serbia and Kosovo. All these people got into the car, and every time they went past a security check, one of the people would give them their paperwork, and they would just assume that everybody else in the car was from Bosnia. And then they'd get to the Montenegrin border, and then the security would make the assumption that the person who was Montenegrin in the car, well, everybody else must be Montenegrin. And that's how they managed to escape the Balkan regions. It was brilliant. He gave me a book to read. It's called The Children of Atlantis. It was published back in 1995, and this book is essentially a compilation of essays which was written by those Muslim students that had to escape the genocidal clutches of the Serbian forces back in the 1990s. Copyrighted and produced by the Open Society Institute. We are going to be discussing the Open Society Institute later on in this video because it is very important to the person who we're going to be discussing today.
Hello. This one? Okay, thanks.
I'm coming to you from the beautiful tropical city of Budapest. We are in Hungary. Now I bet you guys are wondering what the hell am I doing here and what am I doing filming a video here. Well, I was supposed to come here quite some time ago because I was supposed to make a video about one particular man who used to make his home here. It's a gentleman that was born here, raised here and left here during World War II. A gentleman who, if I say his name, you will know exactly who I'm talking about.
George Soros is a multi-billionaire investor from Budapest in Hungary. He was born in 1930. George Soros was a young teenager. Once World War II broke out, his father knew he had to send him away. So his father paid a Hungarian officer, who at this time was working with the Nazis, to take George under his wing and to pretend like George was actually a Christian.
If it's tested, it's constantly in danger. It's constantly in danger of falling apart, and there must be some people who'll fight to preserve it.
George, unfortunately, had to work with this officer, collecting all the items left by the Jewish families who had been shipped off to concentration camps. Eventually, George made his way to London. He attended the London School of Economics, then started his own hedge fund back in 1969. George is the largest donator in modern history. He has donated a total of $32 billion in his career, donating a total of $1 billion every single year for the last quarter of a century. He normally donates to liberal causes and has been vilified by the right-wing media and politicians.
So we're talking about George Soros. So in order to answer all these questions, we need to first know who George Soros actually is. We need to know about his upbringing, where did he come from, where did he live, what turned him into the multi-billionaire philanthropist that we know today. Before we get into it, I'm going to take you to the place where he grew up, okay? On this cold, rainy night. And I mean really cold.
Oh dear. The things I do for you guys, eh?
There it is. Doesn't look too pretty now, but I'm guessing back in the day it must have been sort of, I don't know, it just kind of looks dreary. But of course, George did used to live here, and he used to live here with his father and the rest of his family. Hello and welcome to another day in paradise, and welcome to another edition of the Unapologetic Negropian. In today's video, we're going to talk about a person whose name is synonymous with conspiracy theories and plots to take over the world. In all seriousness, the allegations that are being laid out before this man need to be looked into because they are so serious. And we're talking about genocide, we're talking about financial misconduct on a massive scale. But if you take a look at the people's names who are laying out these allegations, people like Bolsonaro and Donald Trump, it's the who's who of right-wing arseholes who are saying these types of things. So, do we need to take those words with a pinch of salt? Or can we seriously say to ourselves that George Soros can be trusted? And we, as African diasporans, what has George Soros ever done for us as black people? Can we trust him? Now I know what you're thinking. Black people. Why are we always looking for help in the wrong places? Why do we always need to ask for help in the first place? Do we not have the resources or the brain power to go it alone? If George Soros is totally innocent, then why is he getting all these accusations laid against him? So what exactly is George Soros being accused of? I mean, guys, let's face it, some of the people that are making these accusations are some of the worst people imaginable. But these allegations have been made and they've been echoed by many people of authority. So is there any truth in it?
This is MALLENCE Bart Williams, the social entrepreneur that I had the honor of interviewing last year. She is known for her TED Talk, which she gave a brilliant monologue on how the world is supported by Africa. Take a listen on what she had to say about George Soros.
Doesn't need to do the things that he does. He didn't need to become president, didn't need to enact all these policies to save children. But in the same light, George Soros, who is, I think he's somewhere in the region of 4 times more wealthier than Donald Trump, right? He's got a lot of money.
Yeah.
He also doesn't need to do these things. Why do you think he's trying to sort of be a world changer? Why does everybody
you believe he's a world changer with George Soros? I do not believe that, with George Soros introducing biological warfare through the weakest people into the wealthiest countries, that is not the type of world changer I'm embracing. If you're introducing Ebola, you're developing deadly viruses in a lab and sponsoring that shit. No.
Can we take Mallence's words seriously? I mean, listen to what she had to say about Donald Trump.
That's when I became someone that started to respect Trump. When I found out about these missions that he did, where he freed these kids out of underground tunnels, these underground operations, I'm like, okay, I don't care whether that man likes my color or not. That's bigger than me. I started to clap because thousands of children were freed. And I don't care if you're a racist or not. If you do that, sorry, I gotta respect you for that.
Now take a listen to what she had to say about the death of Breonna Taylor.
How can Breonna Taylor's death be racially motivated when nobody saw who, like, the doors are closed, right? And you don't even see who you're shooting at.
Well, they were going after a black person, though, weren't they? They would have known it was good. They were going after a black person.
The boyfriend but the boyfriend was a drug dealer.
But again, there was no evidence, no proof to what she was saying was the truth. She was just talking as if it was fact. But clearly, if this was fact, George Soros has so many enemies that there is no way that he wouldn't face prosecution. It's not like he's a world leader and is immune from prosecution. He's got lots of money, but so did Jeffrey Epstein. The more and more I listened to Mallence Bart Williams, the more and more it felt like I was listening to typical right-wing rhetoric from some tacky tabloid newspaper. It didn't sound like Mallence Bart Williams, this extremely intelligent, beautiful woman that I know. It was very surreal to listen to her speak in this way. It was strange listening to a woman speak about a man who is clearly racist in really good regard. Racism is another subject which Soros has tried to tackle himself, throwing billions of dollars towards helping this cause. Which other billionaires tried doing that? I don't know one. If you know one, please let me know.
Mr. Galloway!
Don't come any closer to me.
This is the former left-wing Mayor of London, George Galloway, at the Oxford Union debate. The debate being interrupted by a pro-Israeli activist. George Galloway had been accused of anti-Semitic remarks.
In Beirut. You interview Mr. Ahmadinejad for Press TV. I think you did a lot of harm by not speaking to my friend Elon and having a constructive dialogue with him. And sir, I don't have a question for you, as you can see, because I don't debate with racists. Thank you, sir.
Listen carefully to how he reacted to this young man's comments.
My question for you is, are you a racist?
Why are you applauding that? What kind of people would applaud that? Am I a racist? You've sat through the last hour and a half of me speaking, and you're applauding someone asking me if I'm a racist? I'm one of the few people on the left in Britain who traveled the length and breadth of apartheid South Africa as an underground agent of the African National Congress led by Nelson Mandela. The subject of apartheid is particularly important to me. And in parenthesis, let me tell you this. that throughout the entirety of my time underground in South Africa under apartheid, every house I slept in, every dinner I ate, every car I drove in was provided by Jewish activists of the African National Congress. Amongst my blood brotherhood.
This is very commendable of George Galloway, but what he fails to mention is where the money came from. A man who had been quietly working in the background, pouring his billions into South Africa, quietly dismantling apartheid, destroying the foundations of racism from within South Africa, giving full scholarships to hundreds of thousands of black South African boys. This underground network that George Galloway is referring to was almost fully funded by one man. Yes, the subject of today's video, George Soros.
Why? Why George Soros? Why choose him? There are many other billionaires in this world who are evil and vindictive. Why is everybody focusing their attention on this man? So what reason do I have to doubt that things that have been said about George Soros are true? Take a listen to what he has done in the United States.
The first state prosecutor for Florida, Aramis Ayala, and Kim Foxx, the state attorney for Cook County, both had their run for state office heavily funded by George Soros. And that's not all. St. Louis State Attorney Kim Gardner, the Texas State Attorney General candidate Lee Merritt, the State Attorney for Ohio Scott Cullum, Mississippi State Prosecutor Robert Schuyler, Texas State High Court Judge Morris Overstreet, District Attorney James E. Stewart, the District Attorney for Atlanta Darius Petillo, all received tens of millions of dollars worth of funding from George Soros.
He has funded state prosecutors, and most of those state prosecutors are black liberals. Here's another reason why it is mainly white right-wing men that hate George Soros. The Bank of England heist, Black Wednesday.
You see, the 1980s was a great time for British banking institutions. Many of these British institutions were built on the back of the transatlantic slave trade, built on the pinnacle of white supremacy. These British bankers literally dancing on the back of our ancestors. Success of the British bankers did not go unnoticed. It caught the eye of George Soros, and he set about to put it to an end. You see, he had a lot of experience, and he knew that the British pound was at some point going to fall. But it needed a catalyst, something to push it over the edge. I'm not a financial expert, so I'm going to tell you in layman's terms how he did it.
So I'll try and keep this simple. This is how he did it. He knew that if he bought as much British pounds, represented here by the yellow blocks, if he bought as many British pounds as he could, if he could lend it, if he could get it from anywhere he could, he would do that, and that would bring the pound even further down, lowering the amount that it was worth and hopefully making it crash eventually. So he did that. He borrowed around 10 billion pounds, and then he exchanged it with Japanese yen, American dollars, Canadian dollars, Australian dollars. Boom. So now he exchanged it with this forex. So he has this money which held its value. The British pound eventually crashed, and what was then worth 10 billion was now only worth 6 billion. So what he did is he took the $10 billion worth of forex that he had here, and he wanted to buy the 10 billion pounds back. So that's exactly what he did. But instead of paying the 10 billion American dollars, Canadian dollars, Australian dollars and Japanese yen and paying that for this 10 billion pounds, he didn't have to do that anymore. He could just pay this for it, 6 billion. So he took that back, paid that back to the people that he bought the Forex off in the first place. And then he took the 10 billion, paid it to the people that it was owed to, and kept this for himself. Within 24 hours, George Soros made a whopping $1.6 billion.
George Soros had once again brought down a system built on white supremacy down to its knees.
Today has been an extremely difficult and turbulent day. As chairman of the Council of European Finance Ministers, I have called a meeting of the Monetary Committee in Brussels urgently tonight to consider how stability can be restored to the foreign exchange markets. The government has concluded that Britain's best interests are served by suspending our membership of the exchange rate mechanism.
You did it. You crazy son of a bitch, you did.
Listen, there are many people saying many untruths about people all the time, okay? We can't dispute that.
But do these people have a valid reason for distrusting George Soros? You remember how he managed to evade the clutches of the Nazis?
This is part of the reason why many people don't trust him. I mean, here is a man who, in a situation when he was sent off to this nationalistic soldier to help take the belongings of his fellow Jewish counterparts, these people watched him and knew he was part of the small Jewish community here in Budapest. And he didn't say anything. He just took what he wanted from these people, knowing that these guys were going to get sent to the slaughter. George Soros saved his own bacon.
Okay, that's it from me. Time to get out of the cold.
Oh guys, I can think of a multitude of nicer places where I could be right now. But hey, this is just what it is. Sometimes you gotta take the rough with the smooth. You gotta do what you can do to try and get this story out. And this is what I'm doing for you guys right now. Guys, if you have watched my videos in the past, you will know what I am like. I normally give my opinion at the end of these videos, but in this video, I cannot give you my opinion. Why? Let's go back to Mohammed, a consultant pediatric surgeon that I spoke about at the beginning of this video. You see, when Mohammed came up into the West, it triggered the string of his other siblings to follow in his footsteps, all helped by the Open Society Institute. One of his sisters moved to Italy and also became a well-known doctor. She had a daughter and she also became a well-known doctor in the northern region of Italy. His other sister also left in his footsteps. She became a world-class pianist. There was one sister that he had left. She left with her 9-year-old child and she was also helped by the Open Society Institute. She came up into Switzerland and started working in a bank and eventually became one of the best wealth fund managers in the whole of Switzerland. This woman I know very well because she is my mother-in-law. She is the mother of my wife, and this is the reason why I can't have an opinion, because it's always going to be biased. Because if it wasn't for George Soros, it's highly likely that I wouldn't have met the love of my life. It's highly likely that I wouldn't have my daughter with me as well. It's highly likely that I wouldn't be living the life that I am living today. It's all because of him. Whatever I say about him is going to be biased, but I have laid it out for you. If you wish, you can study what I have shown you today, and it's all demonstrable. You can see everything that I've spoken about today. You can Google it, you can do whatever you wish. Everything I've spoken about is true. I would ask you to think critically. Take a look at the evidence that I've laid out before you today, and Please give us your opinion in the comment section below. Do you think George Soros is an evil man? Do you think he's a person that has helped black people? Do you think he is the answer to our struggles? Let me know in the comment section below. It'd be really good to hear your opinions on this. So that's all I have time for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the new format. This is the format I'm going to be taking from now on in. So I hope you enjoy it. I will see you next Tuesday. So thank you for watching. Until the next time, take care.
Shramada